Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having an incredible day. To start things off, data from the blockchain intelligence company Glassnode suggests that Bitcoin has entered the optimism phase amongst traders. The metric subtracts the net unrealized loss from the net unrealized profit of all circulating Bitcoin supply to gauge market sentiment. This indicator tends to increase during bull markets, and the company suggests that the various value bands indicate market phases. Here's the little chart right here. With the recent increase in the price of Bitcoin, apparently the market has migrated from hope to optimism. Next, the asset could either continue its momentum and enter the belief phase, or retreat to the anxiety phase. There's another chart right there. Another indicator from Glassnode is the percent of supply and profit. This shows what percentage of the Bitcoin supply is currently valued higher than at the time of the previous transaction. This metric appears to indicate that there is still room for growth. Here's the actual zoomed in chart, if you will, right here. I think it's actually great that they also have color-coded a lot of things. Normally when we get charts like this, they end up looking something like this, and it can be a bit daunting to kind of put the entire thing into perspective. This is also not the first time that we've had a chart like this or something similar to try and show the interest within the market or exactly where things have gone. But it's actually been a while since we've gotten one in general. The most interesting part is that for those of you who were not here in the cryptocurrency space around this time, it was widely believed. Remember, we were talking about yesterday the actual triangle pattern that was showing that Bitcoin was on the way to skyrocketing once again. We actually had this period right around here, right at the end of 2018. The issue is that fraudulently, Bitcoin Cash, Satoshi's vision, was also created. And on that same exact day, which was also something, if you find that video, I was a little peeved because I knew that it had happened. Not because they wanted to increase Bitcoin's block size. The timing of it was just too perfect, especially as we had the entire week before, we had received information that Bitcoin was gearing up for a very big move. And the idea was that most of the market was incredibly bullish, and therefore the prices were going to go up. And on that same exact date, when we had reached the end of the pinnacle, triangle, whatever you kind of want to call it, that's when they announced that they were going to be forking Bcash. And therefore, a third Bitcoin, air quotes, would be created. And this is when we kind of had this rundown right here. Say what you want about it. The idea was that we were going to ride the wave once again, as much of 2018 actually wasn't really pessimistic. I think 2019 was more of the downer year, if you kind of want to say that, because we started the year completely below where anyone thought we were going to go. I think we ended up hitting 3,200 or 3,300, 400 per Bitcoin. But a couple of months later, which is probably where the rest of this wave was going to go, Bitcoin actually ended up hitting $14,000 once again. And this is why I think, like I said, the color coding is actually very good, because even though it says belief, I want to use the word disbelief is probably a bit more accurate, because everyone sees that Bitcoin has hit 14,000. But we remember where we had just come from a couple of months ago. We were trying to figure out if we were going to follow the exact same trajectory. There we go. And this is probably one of the reasons why we're seeing red around here as well, which we saw a couple of weeks ago, which also made no sense, because I made sure to mention that when we saw a big dip like this, we were going to see a huge spike up immediately after. And like an hour later, Bitcoin had dropped from 3,000 whatever hundred back above 5,000, 6,000. So a lot of the numbers, a lot of the pushing around in the market is usually, anyway, yeah, I think we are very close to seeing what could be a belief / denial phase, as in like the denial as in like, not that I don't believe that Bitcoin is actually going up. It's more like a, will it continue to go up? No, I think it's going to go back down. If you even look at crypto Twitter and the comment section, a lot of people, for some reason, and I just assume a lot of you are trolls. I don't see any other actual reason why you're saying these things, because it's been going on this way for the last couple of years. A lot of people continue to think that Bitcoin's price won't go up. I notice a lot of people get very silent whenever Bitcoin is roughly within this range. as far as like if Bitcoin is looking like it's going to push a lot higher. I think even the people who try to push the price down or say that Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies aren't going anywhere, they remain silent because they're afraid of looking interesting in the comment section. And there's also one person in the comment section, I'm not sure who you are. You're doing a very good job at getting people riled up. There's one person who continues writing like Bitcoin is never going back above 10,000, and I'm like, oh. And then also the other person, it's two people. It's really weird. I guess you guys don't have jobs anymore or something. The other one's talking about that XRP will never go above $1, but like it's like the same two people over and over. So it's kind of weird that you spend your time in my comment section. I assume other people's comments as well doing the same exact thing. Anyway, yeah, I think if we continue this uptrend that we are currently experiencing, this kind of a euphoric feeling in the air, I think Bitcoin could easily go above 10,000 over the next couple of days. I think that'll also be fueled largely by the halving hype, which is very, very strong right now. But then also, once again, expect that rundown simply because, yeah, I mean, I try to be nice and I say what I say a certain way to, you know, but there are definitely going to be a lot of people who don't understand what Bitcoin is, what Bitcoin is for. They're going to sell off, and that's just kind of how it is. Anyway, yeah, let's move on. Next up, San Francisco-based Lightning Labs has released the Versia 0.10 or 0.10 beta of its LND software, one of the principal iterations of Bitcoin's Lightning Network. The update focuses on improvements to routing efficiency, channel database architecture, and featuring involving opening and closing of channels on the network. All of these additions are working to make routing Lightning payments more efficient and to make Lightning channel infrastructure more reliable. The Lightning Network is a second-layer solution built on top of the Bitcoin network, which allows for much faster and cheaper payments than could otherwise be done with Bitcoin alone. But before this update, the amount of Bitcoin users could lock in channels was pretty limited. Among other problems, this causes friction when routing transactions. Lightning Network was touted for a while, a very long while, and it's still kind of this way. I'm sure there have been other proposals as to the quickening and or speedening up of the Bitcoin network, but none of them have really gained momentum, if you kind of want to say that. I think that's because Lightning Network, I'm pretty sure this was proposed and or created. It says Lightning Labs, but I'm pretty sure, not Bitmain. Why can't I remember? Blockstack? Blockstream. I don't remember the name of the company anymore. I'm sure they also had a close hand in this as well, and it's kind of like it's meant to be the end all, but not a lot of people are using it. They say that it's still being updated, but by 2019, like I said before, we were expected to all be using the Lightning Network. Alas, this is not true. One of the primary benefits of this upgrade comes in the form of multi-path payments, a method that could improve routing efficiency and, more concretely, quadruples the maximum amount of Bitcoin LND, lets users lock into channels and thus providing channels with more liquidity. This is actually, and I'll explain this in 1 second. It says a related change is the lifting of the maximum invoice size, which was previously 4.2 million Satoshis, or 0.042 BTC, to 16.7 million Satoshis, 0.167 Bitcoin, the company's announcement read. The idea was, and this is the philosophy behind it, is that if you wanted to be able to open up a payment channel between me, you, and another friend, you had to preload Bitcoin into the Lightning Network, which also led to this led to the discussion of locking up coins before the entire decentralized finance movement on Ethereum had completely taken shape. I.e., if you lock away the Ether to put it into projects, to put it into DeFi, therefore the circulating supply of Ether would be less, and therefore Ether would also be worth more. So the idea was if tons of people are using the Lightning Network and or locking up their Bitcoin in the Lightning Network to actually provide a payment path for these payments, therefore the circulating supply of Bitcoin would also be a lot less, and therefore the value of Bitcoin circulating would increase as well. The issue was that a lot of times when people were actually opening up payment channels or invoice channels or whatever kind of word you want to give it, they were usually only putting in 0.01 Bitcoin, so around, what is that, a million Satoshis. The issue is that payments only within that 1 million Satoshis were actually able to pass through the network, because the idea was you can't pay for coffee with Bitcoin. Therefore, with the Lightning Network, as people are trying to make these payments, if you have a Bitcoin value of $10,000, 0.10, 1,000, so if any transaction lower than 100 US dollars equivalent would be able to pass through the Lightning Network, rapid speed. The transaction fee for it was always 1 Satoshi, which is actually quite incredible, because usually when you actually have a couple of other networks doing transactions, even if it's XRP, Lumens, any other ones that has like very, very, very low transaction fees, you can't beat 1 Satoshi. Like, it's 1 Satoshi is, I think a grain of sand is actually worth more than that, not even half joking. So, but that was also a huge problem, because if you wanted to send larger payments through the Lightning Network, you couldn't. So now we have a situation where if Bitcoin is around 10,000 US dollars, you can send around $1,600 to the Lightning Network. The idea, once again, being is that as Bitcoin's network grew, the Lightning Network would also grow. As all of these things grew, Bitcoin's price would also grow. So in the future, if we did ever potentially have a $100,000 Bitcoin or $1 million Bitcoin, you trying to send $167,000 through the Lightning Network would be easy as pie, and it would only have a 1 Satoshi transaction fee. Hope that kind of makes sense. But the issue was that no one really wanted to put their money, like no one wanted to lock so little, because so few people were actually using it. The idea was that as time went on, Bitcoin's price would increase rapidly, and therefore there'd be more of a need for people to join the Lightning Network to be able to send these smaller payments. Because exactly what we spoke about yesterday, the original idea was, and still kind of is that in the future, larger transactions will flow through Bitcoin's core, if you kind of want to say that. The 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 7th, 18th layer solutions would be used for smaller transactions, companies and stuff like that, but the main core network would be used to, the word isn't discreetly, concretely, securely send transactions, regardless if you have to pay a $50 or $300 transaction fee. You'd be okay with doing so because you're sending $1 million, and therefore you wouldn't be able to do that through the actual Lightning Network. Kind of get it? It's very convoluted in many, many ways, as I think the entire world is. I wish crypto were a bit simpler. I think Lightning Networks may not always be the answer, but this, like I said, this is still the solution that's being touted as the solution to all of the inefficiency problems when it comes to sending payments back and forth. I had predicted before that we'd see more adoption of Lightning Network from this side of institutions, but I would not be surprised at this point. Was 0% surprised if the major institutions had actually created their own other network that would be on top of Bitcoin as a 2nd and or 3rd layer solution to be able to send payments amongst themselves and or amongst institutions, especially when you need, or rather they need, or require something that is approved by the Financial Action Task Force. Because I'm pretty sure anonymous transactions through Lightning and or pseudonymous transactions through Bitcoin would probably not do it for them. Anyway, yeah, I mean, we barely ever get any Lightning news. So, I mean, cool, amazing, awesome. I'm giving it a lot more years. Like I said, we assumed in 2 years it would be a widely used thing. I give it the middle of this decade. We'll probably see increased use of it, but even then, I feel like other things will come out that would be a bit simpler for people to use, because nobody wants to buy Bitcoin, lock up their Bitcoin, and then open up a payment network for people to be able to send stuff, especially where if the transaction fee is 1 Satoshi, that means you as the transaction mitigator is not the word. The person who's allowing the transaction to go back and forth, nobody really wants to only earn 1 Satoshi. You're not really making any money back. Anyway, that's the Lightning Network news, and let's move on. Next up, the financial authorities in the Cayman Islands have proposed new crypto guidelines that are meant to align the growing industry with the FATF requirements, the Financial Action Task Force, enabling service providers in the country to compete at the international level. Dubbed as the Virtual Asset Service Provider Bill, it's one of 5 bills that the government proposed, and it seeks to reform its financial services sector. The bill outlines the registration process for digital currency businesses in the country. Several other countries have also implemented new regulations because they were required to do so by the FATF. They were They were guidelines, but every single one has been forced to do so. The proposed bill brings the digital currency industry under the purview of the Cayman Islands Monetary Authority. The Virtual Asset Service Provider Bill requires any company wishing to provide virtual asset services to register with the authority and be required to renew it before the 15th of January every year. Oh, that sounds like so much fun. I'm sure they would love to do that. According to the bill, the Monetary Authority would consider factors such as whether the crypto company has enough skilled people, adequate cybersecurity measures, sufficient capital, and a sturdy accounting system. A virtual asset service provider must also have a registered office in the Cayman Islands before getting licensed. I wonder how much the actual license is. The fact that it already seems very difficult to do any of this, especially the time frame, as opposed to giving someone a 3 to 5 year license, having them renew it once a year before the 15th of January, I'm sure is going to be very fun for a lot of companies. And even more so, there are other places in the world that are a lot friendlier to cryptocurrency, anything, blockchain companies and or startups. So I think people assume just because you have a nice beach or you have sun 360 days out of the year that people are required to go to your island. The other point is, this is another country who has now concreted their requirements by the FATF. Wonderful for them. I know part of this is that they're also forced to do so, but regardless, you don't have to make it so stringent. Once again, there are many other places in the world with 0% tax fees and or like the tax-free sandboxes. I forgot which country. There was 3 countries that had it. You can create your business in said country, and for 5 years you won't be taxed. Sounds a little bit better than other things. Anyway, cool, wonderful. That's another country that now has cryptocurrency regulations. Still waiting on the big kahuna to also release their crypto rules, but I still don't think that's going to happen for quite a while. Let's move on. Next up, Andreessen Horowitz, a well-known venture capital firm, has announced it will be creating a second fund devoted entirely to digital currencies. The company says it's looking to center its focus on new use cases for digital assets, including decentralized finance, payment systems, and content monetization. The firm first gave rise to a cryptocurrency fund back in June of 2018. Approximately $300 million was invested in it. The second fund will be worth more than $500 million US. General partners Chris Dixon and Katie Huan said that they see blockchain as a solid alternative to systems like PayPal, and it doesn't require banks or middlemen to be involved in the transactions. Blockchain is a tool that gives the power to all those taking part in the transaction and moving the money in question. In addition, the firm explained in a statement that Bitcoin could potentially serve as a strong alternative to gold and that it could potentially garner safe haven status in the coming future. It's going to take a while, but eventually it will get there. I assume it will happen by the next halving. By 2024, we're going to start seeing that narrative a lot more. It's just a matter of the halvings actually taking place and Bitcoin's price rising. These are the only things that you need to actually increase adoption massively and to start having more people talking about the gold narrative. This is why we've come to this point where everyone is now proclaiming that Bitcoin is going to be a safe haven and or a replacement to gold, because it's going to happen in the future, just not going to happen right now. Lastly, Bitcoin and crypto account for much stronger means of rewarding content creators. They said rather than engaging audiences through centralized gatekeepers that charge high rents and create self-serving rules, creators can use token models that bypass gatekeepers and give their fans a direct stake in their success. Blockchains enable the creation of decentralized networks that make strong commitments baked into the architecture of the network itself as to how control and money will be distributed among network participants. They said, "Don't be evil" is replaced by "can't be evil." And this is one of the things that makes blockchain very strong, because you can't really cheat the system when you all have a node and you can verify all the transactions that are happening within the network. Here's the article right here on msn.com. It says Andreessen Horowitz creates second cryptocurrency fund with $515 million investment. They don't say exactly which cryptocurrencies they're going to be putting into the fund. One can only assume. There's 2 that are always in every single fund. I don't even have to say the names out loud because you know exactly which ones they are. Fascinating. $500 million is a lot of money to create a fund that is going to be dedicated entirely to cryptocurrencies. I wonder where they're going to be going with this. We see quite often now that a lot of companies are taking hits, shots, throwing punches at PayPal. I don't know which word to really use there. You'd better believe that there are tons of companies behind the scenes who are trying to probably actively work to create an alternative to PayPal, because I mean, one, you want to be able to say or go into the news and say, yeah, I created the system that usurped PayPal, but also because it's where the money kind of is as well. Anyway, yeah, this was kind of all over the place. I mean, any type of a fund that is purchasing or going to have around $500 million worth of cryptos is going to definitely make the news. Like I said, no word as to exactly which coins they're going to be holding, but one can only assume that it's going to be at least the same two that have popped up many times before. We're also, and I wonder if they're going to be part of the team doing this, or if they already know a team that's going to be taking part in this as well. Remember, I mentioned before that there's also like been an uptick in companies who are sending like remittances and or money around the world. And a lot of them are choosing to exclusively use Bitcoin as the actual facilitator for said transaction. They may do the transaction maybe once, twice, or thrice a day. But they're still choosing to exclusively use Bitcoin as the actual swap of value. So while the value transfer is happening and it arrives at its destination, I think it gets automatically swapped into Tether or any US dollar equivalent, which is still totally fine. The idea is that instead of actually having to send US dollars back and forth, you send Bitcoin back and forth to actually send those millions through the system. It's quite fascinating, and I assume we're going to see a lot more of that in the future, because this is also, then again, another use case of cryptocurrency itself. Yeah. Let's move on. And to finish things off, Bittrex Global, Bittrex Europe's based exchange partner, said on Tuesday that it is launching an exchange token in June. Established in October 2019, the Liechtenstein-based exchange utilizes the same technology pattern as US-based Bittrex and targets international customers. On Tuesday, Bittrex Global announced in a tweet that it would list a Bittrex Global Exchange token, though additional details are pending at the time, and what might be characterized as a freewheeling exchange, with Twitter users replying to its announcement. Bittrex Global suggested that it could launch the token due to that it couldn't launch the token due to regulatory concerns. Bittrex Global's website is currently inaccessible to users in the US, of course. And in another tweet, the firm indicated that the token would not be made available in the United States. Notably, Bittrex's market share has been in steady decline for the last year, dropping from 3.5% early last year to roughly around 1%. Here's the actual tweet for it right here. It says Bittrex Global Exchange Token. The most interesting part for me is this one sentence right here. For those of you not looking at the screen, I'm not gonna even read it out. It's actually very relevant. We have enough cryptocurrencies. We don't need any more exchange coins. We don't need any more incentivization to be able to use a cryptocurrency exchange by the creation of a new coin. In the beginning, it was something different. I'm pretty sure, and please correct me if I am incorrect, I'm pretty sure Binance coin was the first exchange coin. Because at that point, there wasn't a Poloniex coin, there was not a Kraken coin, there was not a Gemini coin. I think the Gemini coin, the Coinbase US dollar, and even the Binance dollar came out around 2019. So the idea of a cryptocurrency exchange having its own token was very foreign to everyone. No one really knew what to do, and this is why, in the very beginning, if you find old articles, people were like, why do we need an exchange token? But then it kind of ends up making sense in the context of, more so, I find it fascinating when crypto exchanges keep mimicking each other. I don't know if it's just part of business or exactly what it is. Maybe other people can't come up with their own ideas. That's not me knocking what Bittrex is doing, but it's more like come on, we don't need thousands of exchange tokens. And even more so, if you look through the actual cryptocurrency prices and rankings, if you find the exchange tokens and you look at where they were and where they currently are now, they've all dropped. And I mean, except for Binance coin, because the other coins are just there to be mimics. So This was kind of very popular news. I mean, maybe it was seemingly everywhere, and maybe I just won't use the P word. However, yeah, Bittrex apparently is launching, Bittrex Global, excuse me, is launching their own exchange token in June, and I'm pretty sure you're all really excited to use it. Like, I know I can't wait to use Bittrex Global's exchange token because I find so much value in it. It's pointless. Like, it's all these, when we talk about coins that don't need to be made or coins that are going to be squashed in the future that simply have no use, or I mean, why? We even see all the other stable coins that are popping up. You've seen the stable coin prices. There's certain stable coins that have values of like 93 cents. They're meant to be a peg 1-to-1 to the US dollar, and they can't even hold that because they have such low trading volume. Good job. Anyway, yeah. Let's move on. As always, a very special thank you. Hold on. So annoying. I have to keep unlocking my phone. Very special thank you to my Patreon supporters. They are Professor Wally from Gunbot University, Utopia 569, Yasha Harari, Moonman High, XRP, The Pothead, Joshua Vineyard, Martin Steuer, Chongololo, Tsongololo, John Sarson, Nostromo, The Animal Reader. It's impossible to say Nostromo without the rolling R. Nostromo. No, I can't say it. No, it's Nostromo. The Animal Reader, A Bibliophobia, Bare Bones Mining, Todd Mullis, Adam Graysick, Mohamaroni, Master Ventures in Thailand, Brady Neild, Jared Schneider, Wise Night Owl, 242 to the World, Crypto Joe, Bankrolled Network, Adobo, Crypto Artist, Cole D3D, Nicholas, Run Earth, One Piece, One Love, Damien, Setsuna, Nick, Kanaya, Richie Rich 3, Vlad the Impaler, Paxis, Nick Mangialavori, Anthony Charles, Jim Garner, Jeremy Fox, Minting Coins, Miller, Hitch Test every day. And I mean every day. And Kyle keeps skipping leg day. Yes to Crypto, Bodie McBoatface, Anytime Fitness, Mark's Corner Staff, ARFF Medic 17, Bake Me a Cake, Tigara Macho Nisa, On Crypto with Lionel, Crayola Michelle, URL, and hold on, I doth have to sneeze. Thank you all very, very much for your support. Thank you to everyone who is a member of the channel by clicking the little join button below. And thank you to everyone who is a clicker of an affiliate link. You make the world a brighter place. At the moment, I think Bitcoin is above 9,000. Yes. Bitcoin is currently the only coin in the top 10 at the time of me making this video that is greenish, light green. It's up 0.48%. It's currently at 9,065 US dollars. I have no indication. There was no news as to why the price is slightly ticking up. You can't even see the dip anymore. Before I started this video, there was a huge dip on every single coin in the same exact spot, and then 24 hours later, it was fascinating to see that the losses had been completely recovered over that same exact time. Yeah, I assume as the day goes on, the market may continue to try to pick itself up. There's no actual reason as to why right now the price should be going down in the first place. It could just simply be negative sentiment. It could be that there is some other job loss number that was released. It could be literally a billion and one things that could be affecting the prices of the wider cryptocurrency market. At the moment, I believe we have 6 days left, 5.5 days left for Bitcoin's halving. We're getting closer and closer. It's just fascinating to see everything that's taking place, and also the falling downness of the traditional economy, which is also probably having a huge effect on the cryptocurrency market as well. I do hope that you all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope that it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching and or listening, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.